Welcome to Silicon Valley Buzz, a television program that explores developments here in the most fertile spot on the planet for new ideas. I'm your host, Seth Shostak, and tonight it is a special edition of Silicon Valley Buzz because we're here live, more or less live, at BookBuyers on Castro. And the question we're going to explore tonight is, can this local icon, a brick-and-mortar store, survive in an online world? Well, to discuss that and the possibilities for this incredible asset for this community is the BookBuyers owner and manager, and that's Hotranatha Ajaya. Did I get close with that, Hotranatha? Okay. Thanks very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And also joining us, John McAlister, Mayor of Mountain View. John, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, let's start right off with you, Hotranatha. You know, you guys sell used books, you sell CDs, DVDs, whatever, you sell calendars. Who buys used merchandise of this order? Who are your customers here?
The customers who buy these books. That's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. All the people who live around here. Is that what you're asking?
Is it a particular demographic? I mean, you know, books are not that expensive, so why buy them used?
Because you can come here and you can touch it, you can smell it, you can feel it, you can test drive it, and then you have a different experience than going online and just finding a title that you want. When you come in here, you not only can do that, but you can also run into things that you weren't expecting to find. When you go online, you got to have your title in hand, pretty much, and just look for that title. Here you can come and browse. You can look around. You can maybe not even find the one you're looking for and walk out of the store with 5 things in hand you never knew, and they're real treasures. So that's the difference.
Well, I can understand the browsing leading to a serendipitous discovery of something that you didn't even know exists. I understand that. That's the advantage of any store. But these are used volumes. Many of them are used volumes. Most of them are used volumes. So, you know, why use? What's the differentiator in that market vis-a-vis, for example, there's a store next door. They sell new books.
Right. It's not so much that it's used that makes the difference. It's that when you go to the new store, that has not only books that are new, never used, but it has books that are new on the market. Here, you go back 100 years, 300 years, 5 years, 2 years. Anything in the past could possibly be here. That's a very different kind of bookstore than a new bookstore.
You say 300 years. Do you have real vintage books here with the old bindings?
We do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I've not seen those. I'll have to see.
We don't have a lot. We're not actually, we're a general store, not a niche store like, you know, the old books only.
Right.
But we do have old books here as well.
Okay, now, it's been said that you could be forced to shut down this Castro Street icon within 3 months. What's forcing your hand?
The amount of money we make is not enough to keep this going.
Is it a question of increasing rents? Is it just the cost of doing business? You know, wages, the lights? What is it in particular?
All of
What's
those things are
changed?
Increasing, everything but the price of books. With the online coming in, the price of books have gone way down overall. And so you got to sell a lot more books to be able to make the rent. But the rent doesn't sit still either. It goes up, the wages go up, everything goes up except the price of the books. There are some exceptions, but by and large, that's the fact.
I hadn't realized that online sales affected the price of used books too. They've driven that down.
Online sales are used books as much as new books. So online, they can put anything out at any time without even owning it. Matter of fact, what you see online is from places like this. They don't own the books. We own the books. We ship them. They just get ordered through one of the online services.
Yeah, so they do the marketing for the books that you're
That's
selling.
correct. They make them visible to the customer. Then the customer can order them, and they'll come from any number of bookstores. Individual people can do this too at this point. It's really changed the book world from being located entirely in stores. And you can see that because there used to be many, many bookstores in this area, and now there are very few. We have a small store in Monterey. When we moved in there in 2003, we were one of 7 bookstores in just about a 4-block area on Lighthouse Avenue, and now we're the only one left.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, okay. We've heard the the danger from you. And I want to get back to that because I want to know what steps you're taking to avoid this very lugubrious situation from occurring, to keep it from occurring. But John, you're the mayor of Mountain View. Come on, this is truly an institution that everybody who lives in Mountain View knows about. I'm sure most of them have been in here. And to what extent are his problems something that local government can deal with?
Well, what we're very concerned about is we want the diversity of Castro Street to include retail. And so we're doing incentives or whatever we can to maintain the diversity of retail because we have a lot of restaurants. But we want to have that mix so that if someone comes down at night, they can have something neat, they can come here and browse. And the diversity is very important to us. So when we're doing it, we're also looking at zoning particular properties to make sure that retail is required on the ground floor. So we're encouraging them. We're encouraging to be involved with the community. The mayor comes out and does a corporate visit. I came out and visited with him a couple of months ago, giving him some ideas, see how he can be more involved with the city view marketing. We were talking about a laureate poet. Laureate poet, yeah. That's
Poet laureate.
Yeah, poet laureate, yeah. And see what he can do to bring that into here. But yeah, it's an icon, it's a treasure here. And he brings in books, even though he says they're low cost, but they're accessible. Teachers can come in and buy a book that they couldn't normally afford through their school, so they could come in here, bring it for the students to learn, for students to come in here and pick up books. My daughter came in here, picked up some textbooks. So that's what, I mean, it brings people in, and once word gets out, hopefully more people will be coming through.
But practically speaking, I mean, you can't do anything about the fact that the rents keep going up for this gentleman here. I mean, the fact that there's this pressure. In fact, I might even frame this slightly differently. You know, Mountain View, when I moved to Mountain View, it was a sleepy little town. You know, there weren't that many people. And you could walk down Castro Street, you know, and not have to worry that there were any traffic or any other people on the street. That's not true anymore. High tech has, you know, changed this place, and it's going to continue to change it. How do you forestall, for example, Castro Street just becomes one long string of national chains? I mean, they can afford to pay the rent.
That is true, but fortunately for Mountain View, because the size, now we're getting real practical, the size of our building space is small. So all it really can afford is the small niche business. They don't have 10, 20,000 square feet to come into like a downtown San Jose and see the big corporate stores coming in. Our storefronts are small, and so we have small footprints, so there's a niche. So in a sense, the physical space limits the chain stores from coming through. And right now, they haven't found that Mountain View is that desirable, even though we know it's very desirable, but they haven't come through and said, we want to do business here.
With all these Googlers, they're not interested?
No.
These guys earn good salaries. They look for something to do in the evenings, and you just look out the windows here. There they are. But
they're there. But right now, some of the chains that we'd like to get in, the Sir La Tables, the Sonoma and Williams, some of those type of things that add some mix to it, they're located too close to us. And so we're a little late behind the times, but once Mountain View gets a little more prominent, because they're in Palo Alto and they're in San Jose and they're in Los Gatos, so some of those chains just see that they're too close and the demographics just don't fit them.
You mentioned the number of restaurants here on Castro Street, and I think that's obvious to anybody who's walked down Castro Street. I think you could go to a different restaurant for dinner every night and live out your life without having to visit the same one twice right here on Castro Street. I mean, what sort of policy could moderate that? Is there anything?
Well, we do have a policy in that if this was to change into a restaurant, they would have to pay additional fees to convert from retail to restaurant. And that could be tens of thousands of dollars. There was a shop across the street, a yogurt shop, and it cost them they have to buy parking spaces, and I think it was like $15,000. They had to buy 10 spots. So it was $150,000, somewhere in that range, as a fee to convert it from the retail to the yogurt shop. And so what we try to do is by doing that is that if you want to convert, then you're going to pay some heavy fees to take that space.
So there is a disincentive from converting to a restaurant. Let me get back to Hotranatha. What's your strategy, Hotranatha? The reading room, you know, this section certainly looks new. You're doing some things to the store. Tell me what you're doing to get more people in here, because if the books are selling at a lower price, either you got to have more customers or you got to do something. What are you doing?
Well, one of the things that did, we lowered our prices even more because we see when people buy, and that means we have to sell even more books for that too. But what we're doing is beginning an events program. We started in early February putting on events here, and they're all free so far, but now we're having our first paid event here starting on the 25th, and it'll go for 3 months long.
What kind of event?
It's on The Artist's Way, a book that's very popular, been popular for many, many years. A lady is here going to give the class, and so that will be our first paid event. We're going to build a whole calendar of paid events and keeping the free events as well. We started the free events to just see if we could attract more people in, and it's really working. We're very surprised, happily surprised about how well that's working. And our main focus has been, we have several focal points for the kind of events, but the ones that's really hit well is the things that tell people how to write books and how to publish them, get them published. And so that's been our most popular thing. We also have an open mic night where people come and read from what they're writing to people, poetry, prose, whatever they're writing. Then they just stand up here, they get on our program, and they have to sign up so that we can keep the size of it to the right amount, and then they just do that. And that's probably the absolute most popular one that we do.
I'm trying to get a quantitative impression here, because I've gone to book signing events, and I've, with marketing my book, and in fact I think I gave one here, and there were like 50 people in the audience, and that was a big audience actually for a book signing, right? And so if you have these once every 2 weeks or something like that, that doesn't change the number of people coming through the door very much, does it?
One thing I noticed is when we have an event, the sales go up during that hour. So maybe that's coincidental, but it's pretty regular that when we have an event, book sales go up. Why?
Weren't you also going to try to do, a lot of small publishers don't have an outlet, and so he was talking about that they're going to try to open up space to bring in the new books and the small publishers that are shunned by the chain stores. So we've starting adding a niche will bring more people in too.
Yeah.
We won't do that right yet, but that's definitely on our list of things to do. And right now we're really focusing on getting the events program going. We have free events every week, and we want to have paid events also every week.
Do you market these?
A little so far, yes. Mainly through our website and through our store signage. That's the extent of it. We're very careful about money right now, and so marketing can be very expensive. Fortunately, with one of the good things about the web is it can make marketing less expensive, which fits our need right now.
Yeah, they need to find you first, though.
They have to find us.
Well, didn't you hire a marketing person for you?
Yes, I had two. One's left, and so we're in the process of hiring the replacement right now to start on the first of the month. And we're in the closing time of getting that person back in here.
Now, you mentioned earlier the fact that Amazon, for example, sells used books, probably as many used books as new books, I don't know, but something comparable.
My used books sell on Amazon.
Okay, so you are selling your books via Amazon
already? Not the
already?
ones in this store, but the ones in my online business down in San Jose.
And is that a good, I mean, is that comparable to in-store sales here kind of thing, or is it a niche?
It's a very, very different business than a bookstore. All kinds of complications. And in a way, for us, it's been very difficult doing online sales, not because it's bad or wrong or anything, but a book lover's sense of this isn't going to work in an online store. It's just a very different animal. They treat it, the businesses that really do well with that treat it as just a commodity.
Right.
And so
it's a warehousing deal.
Right, and what the book is of no importance whatsoever. Right. It's whether or not it sells quickly or not, and for how much. And of course those things are important to us, but when you love books, it's really hard to throw away a book. It's just really difficult to do that. When we see a book that's really quality, but nobody wants to buy it, we can't let go of it anyway, And that works fine in a store, but with an online business, that just doesn't work at all. And so we're having to reprogram ourselves to be online as well as book lovers here. We get to be book lovers here, and we got to be commodity pushers there. And we're trying to learn how to do that.
Hey, you bring up your love of books. Obviously, you have a love of books. I suspect that your employees probably have a love of books. They do. Okay, well, two things. One, they say if you really love books, you're not going to make any money or something like that. I mean, maybe that's true. But on the other hand,
unfortunately, we might be a proof of that.
Yeah, well, I hope not. but the other thing is, and John, maybe you can comment on this. I like a store where the people in that store actually know something about what they're selling, right? I mean, if you go into a photo store, for example, there's a good one up in Palo Alto, and they may not have the lowest prices. You can do better price-wise by ordering the product from some big operation in New York. But on the other hand, these people have some expertise, and you go in, you have some questions, they can answer the questions. Does that actually happen here? Do you ever ask questions of people in a bookstore?
Well, yeah, this particular one, because I like the dummy series of books that they have. No reference to my own knowledge, but yeah, so I asked them what they had, and they showed me a bunch of other, but they had a whole section on the dummy books over there. And then they said, well, if you like this, you might be interested in saying something like this that's similar to it. And that's what I've noticed a couple of times. And they said, well, if you like this book, why don't you get the CD? It's the same period of that and buy a CD. And so it's sort of they're bundling stuff with it. But yeah, they're very passionate about what they sell here. And they're very knowledgeable. They'll move you from different points. It's like getting a wine. If you like this wine, try this and type of thing. And that's what they do with the books.
And do they do that? Do the employees frequently get questions about recommendations?
They do that. One thing you should know about books, there's no, and especially in a used bookstore, a big store like Barnes & Noble, I don't know how many books they have in their different titles. They probably have 60,000. We have 300,000 different titles here, and they're changing every week as the books come in. And so it's all over the place. So anybody could come in and ask a question, and we don't know the answer to it, but we can still find where it is and help people find it and such. But so some people are really hot on comics and the graphic novels and things. They are the best ones to answer that. I may not be. Other people would be, their main interest is this. So even if you come here, an individual may not know the answer to that particular question, but every person here is passionate about the books they know about. And so
there was a story about your store in the local paper, and one of the comments that followed, it was an online story as well as a print story, and one of the comments that followed suggested that if somebody is interested in a particular book and they do know the title, and they go up to the front desk here, they don't necessarily know whether that book is actually here.
No, we don't. We're working to, that's one of our big projects to fix, is we've always been a browsing store all these years, and for many years that was perfect. People come in here and spend hours, a half a day or more, just living in here, trying the books, and that was our main customer. It's shifted a lot now to where people come in here with an exact title, just as if we're online, and they want to know exactly whether you have it or not, first of all, before they even go look. And we're not prepared for that yet, but we're going to get prepared for that.
It sounds like you just have to start a database and keep entering things.
That's right.
Okay, so that's a big job if you got 300,000 titles already in the store, I would think.
It's a big job, but we're going to do it. And we got some other things to iron out first, but we're aiming for it. I was really hoping we could get that done by this August the 1st. That did not happen, but it will happen as soon as we can.
John, don't you think he has the best location in town? He's kind of in the middle of Castro Street.
Yes, he's centrally located. The parking is very important. He's surrounded by parking. The restaurant's right at Great, someone's right across the street. So yes, he could be a center focal point for us, which he is. I mean, he won't be, he is. I mean, you can't go past the store without hitting all the restaurants to go to the park. So he's in a great location.
I can't go past the store, period, actually.
And he has stuff out on the street where he's always looking at, so, you just go stop and browse, and then that draws you in. So he's trying that approach, and that seems to be working sometimes. Yeah.
Does it help to be next to Printers Inc.? They sell new books, of course.
We have 3 bookstores here. Across the street is East West, and next door is a small corporate chain, Books Inc., and here we are. Why do they have Auto Mall? Here we got Book Mall.
Maybe you should market it that way. Mountain View's Book Mallette. I don't know, Mallito or something. Yeah, that's a good idea. And now they used to have, and I don't know, they used to have a place where you could get something to drink, something to eat next door. Upstairs. And have you considered that? Maybe having a place where people can drink coffee.
That's another plan we have. I want to do something a little different than that. I'm not trying to start a restaurant here or anything like that. I just want to go with ethnic foods that are all prepackaged. I'm not going to be able to get a health permit here or something like that, and so we'll have drinks and snacks and things like that.
Does the zoning law affect that? Can he sell
Am I
food?
wrong about that? Can I
Well,
do
he can
that?
apply for a use permit. He just has to change a few things in the store, but you can apply for a use permit. You're not exempt from it. You're surrounded by restaurants. Does that make sense that you can't? No.
I'm not even trying to be a restaurant, just to have drinks
Yeah.
and things like that.
Packaged
I
goods?
can't contribute enough space to food when I can't get enough books in here already. You know.
Well, that's
we
where
love
you got to
books
figure out the
here.
mix of what you're going to do.
Yeah, that's right. But I plan to do that. That's a plan.
Hotranatha, I'm sure when you go to parties, I don't know how often you go to parties, but whenever you go to a party and you tell people what you do for a living, and they say, what are you talking about? Borders couldn't survive in the book business against the juggernaut, the online juggernauts.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
First of all, this is my party right here. Not just you, but I mean, but most people that find out I'm a bookstore owner, they look at me like I'm something special or something, and something they would like to do. I find so many people would love to write books, but they never do, or write a cookbook and they never do, and they like the idea of a bookstore. And so that's my experience when people find out I do a bookstore.
Yeah, but if they ask you, look, you know, Borders didn't make it, and it was a big national chain, heavy duty. How are you going to make it? What do you tell them?
Because I'm more determined than they were. They're a corporate thing, and this is our home, this is our business, this is our love of life. And so if I can't get it with that, then I guess I'll go the way of Borders, you know.
But what you're telling them is, you know, you're committed to this.
I am committed to it.
Okay.
I'm determined that we will not lose this store. I really think this is a great value for the community. Anybody that I ever hear says that, of course, they're saying it to me, so maybe that changes what they do, but maybe they go and buy online after all anyway. But
Did the bankruptcy of Borders, for example, on the one hand, you know, it's got to be depressing news to read. You know, a big bookstore doesn't survive.
Yeah.
But maybe that has a positive effect on you because there are few people going to Borders. They still want to buy books. Maybe they come here.
It is true that as all the other businesses, book businesses went out of business, we could tell we weren't seeing the same effect for the long time because we were what was left. And but now we're what's left, and people are still migrating away from the brick and mortar store. And so, and I don't think it's because they don't like the brick and mortar store. I think that online is very, very convenient. And, I mean, you can go to work and you're sitting at your desk and you're being paid to work, but you're going online and ordering your book, you know. And then when you come home, or in a couple of days, you get it. Here, and that's all right. That's what people need. And I'm not opposed to that, but this is a different kind of thing where you can come and enjoy. It's actually a community is represented in this store. We have a very wide demographic, I think. It's not a narrow niche of people.
Are you getting young people?
Yes, we do get a lot of young people here. We get a lot of high schoolers, middle schoolers, all the way up.
Is it worth it to carry the CDs and, you know, that the calendars and so forth, the old magazines, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it is.
My wife comes specifically to this store because of the calendars.
Really?
She knows she can always get a calendar here. And she does, you know, she does a lot of online stuff, but she'll come here just for the calendars.
Yeah, I would have thought calendars. I mean, it's like buggy whips, right? Is anybody going to buy a calendar now? But apparently somebody is.
It's just like books. You still want to see, you want to get the feel for it and the overall experience of it.
Well, we're getting close to
It's a big profit maker for us, calendars.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. People buy many of them just to give as gifts.
Yeah, well, I can imagine as a gift.
and,
Yeah, I've gotten
let
many
them-
myself. I don't know what to do with them. I don't have the wall space.
I think that if the calendars were just a calendar, they probably wouldn't sell very well, because you got that on your computer, right? But the pictures are what they go for. Matter of fact, after this season, when these calendars are no longer selling, we put them back there in the home department, and people buy them for their artwork. We actually give hundreds and thousands of calendars away to teachers and librarians for them to use for their bulletin boards and their
Art projects.
in the school. We do that every year.
So a year-old calendar is not, just garbage.
5 years old. It's all the same if it's still in good condition.
Pictures are still good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end here, Hotranatha, and I have to ask you, are you going to make it? What do you predict?
If you're asking me, we're going to make it. If I think with my head, then it says, how can we make it with this unbelievable situation? But in my heart, I know we're going to make it. So if you ask me if we're going to make it, yes, we're going to make it. But we're not going to make it because I say so. We're going to make it because the community comes here and uses this incredible resource. That's the fact. So my saying it won't make it true, and yet I know it's going to be true. I just know it.
Well, that sounds good to me. Now, can we check back with you in, say, 3 months' time?
Yeah,
make it
do.
6 months. Give you an extra 3 there.
Please do.
Yeah.
We've been going through this downslide for about 8 years now. So,
But have hope, because remember the book in H.G. Wells, The Time Machine?
Yeah.
The guy went to the future, but he came back for what? 3 books. Remember that? He came back for 3 books, and even though he saw the future, he came back and he had to get books and the knowledge of the past.
Yeah.
Very quickly, John, can you see the future? Is this all going to be, 10-story buildings another 20 years from now? Castro Street?
I hope not.
Yeah?
I really hope not. This is the charm. This is what people like. They like the community, the small town feel, and that's, as long as I have an opportunity, no, we're going to keep it like this.
Well, local business, bookstores, everybody says they want them, but when push comes to shove, where are you buying your books? Why don't you buy them here? Thanks to the hospitality of BookBuyers and my guests, Hotranatha, Ajaya, and John McAlister, I'm Seth Shostak. I want to also thank our producer, Susan Hubbard, and our director, Bobby Chastain, and the whole KMVT cast. Always does such an excellent join. I'm Seth Shostak. Join us next month for Silicon Valley Buzz. Good evening.